Riley. My pronouns are they and them, and I am the president and one of the co-founders of ClimbingQTs. I'm also an LGBTQ advocate and educator. Yeah, so ClimbingQTs formed about 3.5 years ago, and I think I was just climbing at the time, and Billy and I were talking. We're like, where are all the queers? I don't know where they are. I'm sure they're in the climbing community. But basically it started off as a meetup, just a social group, and then like really rapidly like kind of grew into a massive project, and people kept wanting to come and be involved. So yeah, we decided to like formalize the club, and so now it's an incorporated organization. Yeah, and it's across multiple states in Australia as well. Climbing itself is not gendered. You don't have to sort of fit into a binary to participate. So anyone can go outdoors, or you can come to the gym by yourself. Bouldering especially, because people might climb on their own, because it's more of a, I guess, independent sport, a solo sport, not a team sport. So in that sense, it's not binary, but the, I guess, participation can be challenging if you don't fit within the binary within any sports. I have had some interesting situations myself personally when I've tried to like compete in bouldering competitions, and I remember this one climbing gym was trying to create an inclusive category, and so they had the sign up form, and they were like, put down what gender it is, and I put down X because I'm non-binary, and then it got to the actual comp and it just didn't work through their algorithm, and so by the time I got to the comp had finished, I was just excluded from the entire thing, and I'd like trained and like, you know, gone to the event and everything. So it was an accident. Being non-binary or being trans or gender diverse does get in the way, which is why ClimbingQTs exists, to sort of like break those barriers down, but also work with the climbing gyms and the largest state organisations to help them develop more inclusive policies and guidelines with the comps they do. I guess the climbing community is relatively new in Australia, and the sport itself has always been a bit more of an outsider sport. It's not considered a mainstream sport, so in that sense everyone kind of had a LGBTQ person, a friend or a family member that was affected by not wanting to, you know, go to the gym, or feeling excluded or feeling unwelcome, and so they were like, of course, this makes sense, this is what we'll do. Yeah, not as much bureaucracy, and I think not as much of a history of like exclusion to sort of battle and change, because a lot of guidelines and policies didn't exist, and so we can sort of start from scratch to create them. So on a more personal level, I started climbing at the same time where I was figuring out my gender identity as non-binary. So that tied in really nicely, but I realized that being able to use exercise as a way of affirming myself and my gender, because I was able to, I guess, feel like I had control over my body and feel excited about the way my body looked, and also be able to develop muscles in a way that was affirming, kind of worked really well for me. And I think that's why I sort of really feel passionate about making sure climbing is accessible to everyone if they want to participate in it. Because yeah, I think that, you know, there's obviously a lot of options out there to affirm gender, you know, a lot of other steps that people can take, or if they don't take any of them, that's so fine as well. But for me, it was more about, I guess, a more holistic approach. I don't necessarily want to have surgery or do anything too drastic. It's more of a mental thing for me. So feeling empowered and feeling strong, feeling in control, and feeling like I trust my body to do what I need it to do is affirming for my gender. So my proudest climbing achievement so far is climbing the Candlestick in Tasmania. I went to Tassie over a year ago and heard about this climb, and then no one would do it with me, and it's because it's kind of a big ordeal. It's like a whole day. And so it's this climb where you have to hike out for 2 hours, and then you have to wrap down to the base of the cliff, so rappel like abseil, and then you have to swim across the ocean to this pillar that's in the middle of the ocean, like a sea stack, and then do all this technical stuff, climb up it, and then you do this big Tyrolean back to the mainland. But the swim is the fun thing, but it was really cold. You know, like I read up reviews about it, and everyone's like, treacherous waters, 1 meter swells, there's sharks and seals, and there were seals screaming at you at the bottom. They're just like, I'm not going to scream on camera, but so, and then yeah, it's like icy cold, and you have to learn all these new skills. But I just like feeling exhausted and feeling like I've done something that in that moment might have felt like I was pushing myself, but then later I'm like, that was second degree fun. I was cold and wet and sad, but also happy. Well, so this year I started working with Arc'teryx as an ambassador, and I'm really proud of that because I feel like it's supporting the visibility of non-binary and queer climbers in the community and in sports more generally, and sort of like in a mainstream sort of space. And yeah, I think that having that representation is really important, and I'm happy to be an ambassador for them. I don't take a lot from the QTs community because it's entirely a volunteer-based organisation. Like, we pay all of our subcontractors, but I do everything for free, and so it feels nice to be like, actually, it's yeah, I guess I feel like there's some sort of give and take in the ambassadorship, which is nice.
Yeah, you mentioned in your bio that you have dreams of becoming a trad dad. Please can you explain what a trad dad is?
So I would like to be a trad dad, and I think I'm on track to being a trad dad because it just means that I'll be able to climb for the rest of my life, and it's not necessarily about climbing hard, it's just about having fun. And just imagine a dad who's a bit like on the chub side, or like, you know, just climbing up the mountain. So ClimbingQTs has a subgroup called Trans QTs, and that emerged because we identified there were specific barriers for trans and gender diverse folk. So that might be anything from financial access, because we know that people who are trans and gender diverse are subject to more harassment and discrimination in society, and, you know, might be disproportionately affected by the job market, for example. And so we provide, I guess, scholarships in a way for people to participate, get equipment and be involved. Also having sort of mentors and mentees within the climbing community that are trans and gender diverse. So myself and other people that are sort of happy and content being climbers, to be able to like connect with people who want to get into climbing, to be role models and introduce them, to have like a buddy to go with, because it can be quite intimidating coming to the gym on your own without a friend. I guess, yeah, providing advice to sort of organisations and businesses specifically around trans and gender diverse inclusion within climbing. So how to create competitions, how to like make updates to their facilities, how to, you know, use the correct language and terminology. Yeah, so we have a volunteer sort of working group, and then, like I said before, we pay anyone from like our camp mentors. Champions get reimbursed for doing their sort of their shift at the meetups, and then we have climbing guides as well that are LGBTQ, and they get paid. So everyone that does like work will be remunerated or paid in some way, but to be able to run the club, we definitely need some level of income, and that was a really good opportunity for us to be like, if we're going to be putting in hours to work with a business or an organisation, you know, literally writing policies and providing recommendations and supporting them with their social media content and their campaigns, then yeah, a little bit of remuneration helps us function, I suppose. So the outdoor trips are almost 50% cheaper if you join ClimbingQTs. So access in terms of like getting that financial barrier broken down is really important. Yeah. My ClimbingQTs inspire me. I love them. I don't know all of them because there's so many of them, but the ones that I do connect with and share spaces with just make me so happy, because I feel like it's a really rewarding experience to be able to create a space and then know that people are able to enjoy that. And even if someone comes to QTs and has fun and then becomes, you know, a skateboarder, or goes to play basketball, or goes to become a surfer, or whatever it is, if they were able to get into the sporting and outdoors and active space through climbing, then that's just as exciting for us, because we can facilitate that sort of stepping stone.